Hey, it's Dr. G. I am here spinning, riffing on some questions, um, student discussion questions for PR advertising and brand management. We're about to segue into week two with some questions about radio, which is great. But lastly, on our week one topic, Leonard asks, would you buy a product that has not been promoted in any communication medium? Depends on the product. Okay, so back to that keyword. Maybe it's a keyword for week one, week two. It depends. Right. So do I buy Band-Aids that I've never seen a TV commercial for? If my fingers cut open, if I have a paper cut that's just burning, yeah, I'm going into a store. I'm looking for Band-Aids. I'm looking for ointment, and I'm gonna pick up what they have. Right? Like, it depends. It depends on your situation. It depends on the product. We have, the more information we have today, more access to information we are able to make savvier consumer choices. But sometimes you have limited information, and that's a personal decision. What is the medium of communication from which you frequently receive more publicity? Depends. Again, depends on who you are, depends on the audience, on the different needs of the audience. But it's not, here's the best way to respond to that kind of question. This course, if anything, I think a lot of us are locked into ways of thinking about ideas in terms of opposition, competition in terms of opposition, right? And that's big, especially in the U.S., but really in the Western world, right? We think about terms like winners and losers, first place and last place, or first place in anything else, right? Are you the champion or not? And really, it's about finding your position. What is your positionality? Finding your audience, finding your consumer market, or assessing your product accurately. Okay, does it provide a good service? And so it's if we can reframe outside of either or thinking about every possible situation, then we're going to see that expanse take place. And also, if the question is relating to advertising, when we know which medium to advertise on, again, product and audience, answering those two questions. But it's less of a medium competition than it used to be. I think everything changed with the internet, because now everything can flow across channels in a way that they couldn't in previous decades. You had to go with, a radio spot was on the radio, a TV spot's on TV. Even though a TV ad could be made in a way that you could hear audio only and get the message. So, do you have to make radio ads based on humor? Nope. All right, week two, we've crossed the threshold. Will has some commentary here. Will, our digital platform aficionado. When I am watching YouTube, I always see videos with headlines like, quote, "I did this and you will not believe what happened," end quote. Most of the time, nothing major happens. This is a tactic called clickbaiting. Good identification of a key term there, Will. It is used to draw the user in by either exaggerating or just lying about what happens in the title of the video. Would you see this as something that mainstream media does? And follow-up question, is it ethical? Would I see mainstream media do this? Absolutely. Yes, would be my official answer. Thinking about websites like BuzzFeed became popular for this. They prominent for this kind of clickbaiting. Huffington Post is terrible at promising something through a suggestive title that they don't come close to delivering on if you open up the title. And we understand this term clickbait. Let me expound on Will's identification of it as a thing. Clickbait, like the reason that name fits that practice is that the clicks are the key to generating the numbers, the data that will then support say, charging X amount for the advertising on that site. Right? Makes sense. So if whoever gets the most clicks, then they can sell the ads for or reap the most benefits, right, from that advertising. And so, that's just one mechanism by which you can weigh the outcome of a product. Is it being successful, or is the medium we're advertising a successful outlet for the ad for the product? Okay, is it ethical? I mean, it's annoying. Here's a couple things. I'm gonna use a journalistic term here. It's sensationalist first and foremost, and so recognize sensationalist titles have been around since the dawn of print. Sensationalism is one of those 5 pillars of journalistic reporting, right? Does it meet one of 5 or more, or one or more of the 5 kind of qualities? And sensationalism is one because it's about leads that will attract attention because it is a profit medium. So is it sensationalist? Is it misleading? And so misleading has a negative connotation, but ultimately in a legal situation, here would be what I would respond to. Will, is this question: would have to prove harm to be unethical, right? We're going to get into that legal language, right? If there's a harm behind what it's doing, we could probably technically qualify it as unethical. I mean, it's again the power of language, right? Do we like it? No. Is it unethical? Well, what are we going to be able to prove in a court of law? Growing up, I've mostly been exposed to podcasts rather than radio. Do you think this medium is taking the place of radio? For many, yes. Okay, so on one hand, yes, for many. And for those, what do you call, like terrestrial radio was never an option, right? So the younger demographic, you grow up in a digital age, you have that instant access, that instant gratification to digital media. So why would you go backward and choose this sort of slower form with more ads and so on, and narrower? What seemingly used to, the whole purpose of radio was broad mass appeal, but by being so broad, it may have less desirability than something narrower, more focused that we can easily find online now. For many, yes, but really it's about, there is this shift, a larger shift, intentional shift. Here comes a new term here, toward narrowcasting. All right, so I use that term broadcasting, which we're very familiar with. We sort of absorb it through osmosis of culture, but narrowcasting is an industry term to talk about finding that focused or fixed audience and going directly after them. I think podcasts succeed in that way. They are built to fit a narrower audience, whereas radio is built, its model is built for something wider. But I think we're in such an age of content, we're going to continue to see both. They both can sustain an audience simultaneously. It's just that larger piece of the pie that radio held for so many years has lessened considerably. So for now, they're still sustained. But we've seen a lot of smaller radio stations gobbled up, over years and years. And a lot of stuff just syndicated. Programming. Isn't it risky to have the DJ ad lib an ad? And occasionally, we could research and talk about some examples of that happening. So it has happened. But increasingly and overall, no. For a couple of reasons. It's risky for the DJ as well, which puts a checks and balances system on how one might approach ad-libbing. And so, not when we say it's risky for the DJ as well, that blowback can also fall on the producer at the station, right? The producer of that channel or that block, and risky for the station. All right, so big checks and balances. It's a lot of, there's more as much risk for the individuals than maybe the product. But sometimes the company, they want to entrust a creative personality with that, because they would say, like, people are drawn to the personality that maybe a DJ would have, and so their familiarity, their creativity, but also their familiarity with radio affords them a kind of luxury, right? A grace period, if you will, to kind of speak for a certain product, and it humanizes that product more. Sarah asks some questions. A lot of they language that sometimes can cloud, right, interpretation of the question. So again, one of our master goals, working on specificity. What book are we talking about? What chapter are we talking about in the book? Maybe what page are we referring to? Are we referring to marketers or advertisers versus the author? Who are we talking about? So concrete nouns in the questions are going to drive that. So I'm going to skip through some of these. One of these questions: who goes through the ads to see that the sellers are not copying too much information from someone else's design on the ad? All right, so I'll play a little bit with interpretation here, and let me say, like, who goes through and checks the ads for copyright infringement? Is that right? The difference, this is a key difference between being a professional and an amateur, of course, and we live in an age of speed, so you want to be able to work quickly and efficiently. You want to have honest work, and you want to put out a good ethical quality, but also to a certain degree, everything gets copied. Ideas, we all feel like we're having aha moments and these great ideas. There can be great ideas, but most things have been saturated in the market. So what you do need to do, your idea is probably borrowed from somewhere else, but it's about putting enough originality on your spin of it and making sure you're not copying something. Just like song lyrics, right? You think about the music industry. What is this term? Sampling versus outright copyright infringement. That can lead to lawsuits, right? Major payouts. You can bankrupt things. So there has to be a checks and balances there. You have to have enough originality to match anything that's perhaps borrowed from somewhere. And how do people, last question on this segment, how do people create an ad that is all the right parts and not putting too much on other influences? Well, that's $1 million question, right? And that's what we're all climbing that mountain to have, that $1 million idea. That's why all these idea game shows are the rage, right? Shark Tank and whatever else. Years ago, The Apprentice. It's all about what ideas are out there. Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll try to wrap up with a lightning round for our digital discussion in week 2. Thanks.